to Pillar to Post podcast, where we speak to Muslims in the world of sport. I'm your host, Tez Ilyas. I'm a stand-up comedian, and it's an honor to be speaking to brothers and sisters from across the sporting world for what will be an amazing podcast. Today, we have an exciting, brilliant guest. We have Rudy Gestede, who is a professional football player for Middlesbrough Football Club. He's a striker. We're having this chat over Zoom, and so if there are any sort of audio issue, it's because of that. Normally we'd be in our studio and we'd have that face-to-face banter, but at the moment we're doing it over Skype, over Zoom, so that's why there might be a slight audio issue, but hopefully it'll be great. Before we get started with today's show, I remind you to check out our platform and social media, and please follow, like, share, and subscribe. Pillar to Post. Assalamu alaikum, and a warm welcome to Pillar to Post podcast to the wonderful Rudy Gestede, everyone.
Wa alaikum salam.
Bro, it's so good to be talking to you. You know why? Because I'm a big Blackburn Rovers fan, innit? Like, I'm from Blackburn. This is where I was born and bred. And you played 2 years, some of the best moments of your career. What was that like?
I had a very good time at Blackburn. I came knowing that it was a good club with good facilities. I was coming from Cardiff, who were in the Prem at this time, so it was a bit of step back for my career, I thought, at the beginning. But then I managed to play every game, had some very good times over there, scored a few goals, and it gave me my move back to the Premier League. So very nice, very good memories, and Rovers will always stay in my heart.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear, bro. But yeah, so I was a big fan of yours because you scored very good goals. Every time the ball went in the air, I was like, Rudy's getting on the end of this. So it was always good to have you up front for us, man. I really appreciated that. In terms of what should you be doing today, right? So we're recording this at 3 on a Saturday, and I know that right now you shouldn't be talking to me. You should be on the pitch playing versus QPR. Bro, what's it been like with this whole coronavirus thing and having to stay at home as a professional footballer?
If I think just about myself and a selfish point, I would say, I want to be on the pitch and blah, blah, blah. But, with this situation, I think it's more than football. Some people are very hurt by this situation. Some people are losing their life. So I'm very grateful to be home with my family and spend some time with them. So now it's, you have to sometimes step back and see the big picture. And at this time, football is not a priority.
That was that's an answer full of wisdom, which is brilliant. As a stand-up comedian, I travel around the country doing gigs in theatres and comedy clubs and stuff. And at the moment, similar to you, I'm stuck at home in my family home, which I'm so grateful. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in a situation like this. Do you miss your teammates? Do you miss hanging out with them? Do you miss getting out of the house and going for a run? Very active, like that is your entire life. What is it that you're missing the most at the moment?
I try to keep myself fit. So every day I do a session. I do one by myself or I go for a run. We've got a program from the club to follow. And I do a more like CrossFit type of session with my wife at home and the kids. So we try to keep them busy, doing some sports. So I keep myself fit. Obviously, just going for a run is different than play football. I would prefer to train with the team, but that's where the situation is. So I go for a run every day on my own and try to stay away from everyone. I would say that there's a lot of people going for a run last few days. I'm not sure it's like this all the year, but people are now, I think, is keen to go and practice some sport, but because that's the only reason you can go out now.
I swear there are people taking up jogging that have never jumped and cycled in their life, and suddenly now they want joggers and cyclists. And like,
yeah. Now there's a lot of sportsmen on the streets. I've never seen that the street busy like this with sportsmen, but because of the coronavirus, people get into sports. It's a good thing, stay fit and healthy.
Well, yeah, you got to say, hopefully with every cloud comes a silver lining. Talk to me about you, Rudy. You're a French guy. You were born in France. Tell us a little bit about your childhood. Where were you born and what was your upbringing?
So I'm born in France, in Nancy, in the east coast in France, not far from Luxembourg. You can put this on the map. Raised with my two parents, I would say middle range family. We never been lack of anything. My parents were working hard to make sure they provide everything we needed. Grew up in the city and then in a rural area. nice environment. I wasn't in football. I always been in sport because of my dad. He practiced few different sports. Always been in sport, not in football to start. I started when I was 10 years old. Then I was good at school. Did my A level in sports and in economic and finance. And from like 17 years old, 18 years old, I started to train with the team. And then it was difficult to do school and football, so I just get into football straight away.
As you said, a little bit later than normal, because normally you hear kids getting into football at 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, I think it doesn't make any difference to start at 5 years old from my point of view. Because from 10 years old, when you start to be like in the pre-academy at 12 years old, you train every day, so you can catch up anything you lack of. That's where you start to play like, the real football. Because from 5, 8, 10 years old, it's not proper football. Kids just running around. So it's good for the fitness, but it's not very like football, except few teams maybe. But that's a different discussion. So I practice different sports who probably like gave me few skills for football. I'm quite flexible because I've done some gymnastic. I've done American football for kids. I've done some judo,
Wow.
you call it. So no, I practice few different sports who gave me like, some skills for football, and then playing outside with my friend. I think I didn't want to go like to commit myself when I was too young, like training fully 100% focused on football. I think it's good to start different kind of sports to make sure the one you choose, that's the one you like the most.
What would your advice be to any young kids listening to this, thinking I want to be a footballer or even or a cricketer maybe or something when I grow up?
Yeah, I would advise them to make sure that's the one sport they like the most, because at the end of the day, it's going to be a big commitment. From 12 to now, I train every day. Didn't have any summertime. I couldn't go out with my friends as much as I could or I would like. You have to eat properly, sleep properly. So from 12 years old, from 12 to 17, it's a difficult time because you live a different life than your other friends. You have to commit yourself to make sure you give 100% chance to be a professional. And then, even if you do it, sometimes you don't make it. So you have to change. You have to change your dream and do something else. So it's not easy. So they have to make sure they're committed 100% and work as hard as they can, because it's not an easy path to be a footballer. But when you get there, obviously it's a dream, and you love it every day, and that's a good reward, with all the commitment you had during your teenager. Then you become professional. So they have to make sure they love it, they really want to do it, as they commit themselves.
Who were your sporting heroes, or even maybe football heroes, maybe beyond football as well? Who were your football and sporting heroes when you were growing up?
Football hero was Thierry Henry. So I was watching all of these
That makes
videos.
sense.
Yeah, at this time it wasn't that easy to find videos because there no YouTube or no Instagram or nothing like this. But as soon as I could, I was watching his videos, and it was unbelievable. So yeah, it was my hero, number 14, Thierry Henry.
And outside of football, did you have any other sporting heroes?
Outside of football, no, not really. I'm really a big fan of entrepreneurs and successful people who started from nothing and end up building an empire. So I try to read a lot about the journey and the mindset of those people. So that's something I really like since I'm quite young. The business people who made it starting from nothing.
Who is the name that they could go and research? What is the name that inspires you in that
You've got
field?
Magic Johnson. You've got Magic Johnson, who had managed to start it from basketball, then in the business area. Then you've got the Howard Schultz from Starbucks, who did very well. Who do you have? I've read a story about. There's a YouTube channel I follow a lot. It's Value Entertainment from Patrick Bet-David. He started from nothing, and now he's the CEO of a big empire insurance company, and very good YouTube channel if they can watch it about business. Like on top of my mind, that's the few names who comes, but yeah, I could give you a list and we talk about it next podcast.
Yeah, inshallah. I guess most footballers would leave school at 16. So what made you stay at school later than what a professional footballer would? Was that something from your parents, or was that something you wanted to do?
The academy I was in Metz, it was part of the protocol. So you had to be at school until you get a certificate.
Okay.
And then you could like only train. So they make sure you had school every day in the normal high school, normal college, and then you train in the afternoon. And after the training, you go back to the academy, because the system is a bit different in France. The academy all sleep together in a big center, football center, and so after training, we go back there and we've got homework to do for 2 hours. And after homework, we go for food. After food, you go to bed. So every day was like this, from 8 to 3 schools, 3 to 5 train, 3:30 to 5:30 training, 6 to 8 homework, and 8:30 food, 9:30 in your room, 10 o'clock in your bed. So that's why I'm saying it's a
Wow.
big commitment. 12 years old.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that some people who don't follow sport closely, who just see people scoring goals and they hear news stories about footballers earning a lot of money. They don't realize how much hard work has gone into becoming a footballer, the sacrifices that are made, the commitment required. I think most people don't have appreciation for that, man. So big up you in it for following your dream and working as hard as possible to make that come true, man.
Most of people don't realize that we put our teenage and life on the side to succeed. So that's why when you get professional, there is few young players who get caught in the clubs or doing bad things because they don't get used to it. They're 18, 19 years old, 20 years old with big money. It's not that easy to handle everything in the right way. You have to surround yourself with good people. It's not the case all the time. So sometimes we blame them when they're 18, 19 years old and they keep this stamp on the head for the rest of the career, even if they change. As soon as they're going to do something, like, he's a bad guy or he's got bad reputation, but that's not always the case. So I think with the social media and they should a bit step back a bit on it and make sure they don't put all their life on it, and because they're gonna be judged for everything they do, even if sometimes not the right judgments. But everybody's got a voice on social media now, and make it a bit harder for the players to have a normal life.
Do you ever get advice from maybe other footballers or from Middlesbrough Football Club itself about how you should handle social media? Do you get training on that?
No, not. I think they should do more now because it's getting big. We've got someone in charge of communication who can say, guys, don't post it, don't talk about it, blah, blah, blah. But it's not enough. I think the young players should have more people around them to teach them how to communicate, because you never been taught this in a school or something. So you just come like this and you've got a tweet or a post on Instagram who can reach thousands or millions of people, but you don't realize how powerful you are on this. And sometimes that's how you do mistake. So I think that's something football like the PFA, I don't know, should think about. It's like how to work alongside the players to make sure they don't do any mistake on communication, or at least they know how it works.
And I think football clubs, the leagues, they should be doing more to work with players to make sure that they give them proper guidance in how to conduct themselves on these things. Especially because when you're young, you say all sorts of rubbish online to your friend. You realize when you're older, people find those things like, oh, how come he said this when he was 14? Like, the guy was a kid. Let's just cut him some slack. But then the media want to make it a hullabaloo. Yeah. So yeah, man, what should be done in that area?
You're right. Even those people who say, he said that, I will investigate in their Instagram or Twitter if they never did a mistake about communication. I think football players get treated in a different way just because they have a lot of money and people is a bit uncomfortable about it. So it's an easy target. Football players are easy targets, and that's the part of the industry I don't like too much.
There was a news story this week about Matt Hancock, who is the health secretary of this country, and he, in a press conference, had a go at footballers. I think he was talking more about the Premier League, about they should be doing more to cut their pay and they shouldn't be giving back to society. And you guys had that conversation in Middlesbrough among the players about what you can do around this time. But what's been the conversation?
No, we didn't talk about it. We didn't see each other. We've got we talk sometimes on message, but we didn't talk about it too much. The club didn't mention anything to us. So let's see what they can do. I'm not waiting on them to help people myself. I think that's something you should do all year and not waiting for something to happen to do. But now it looks like it's a big thing that players should help. We don't even know what players do with their money. Some people, maybe they give away more money for charity and stuff like this, but we don't talk about it. And now, because big coronavirus, people say, they should give the money away. But if they give already like 30% away for charity, and now you ask them to give 30% more, it's like 60% cut of your salary. Would you accept it?
And that's after tax.
Yeah. So would you accept it if you're normal? If you are like a normal worker, 60% on your salary? No, I don't think so. So sometimes they should, as I said already, they should step back if like they react because of the emotions, or if they react because that's a proper thought about it. I'm not sure. Let them do what they want with the money. They earn the money because they deserve it. The club, obviously, that's the situation. We should help each other, but that's the only way to do is just to cut the money. I think it was a mistake from the political guy to talk about it, because that's something to give people more reason to blame players, and that's not what we're looking for at this time.
Like you said, the footballers are an easy target for politics. So there are other people that they could go after. There are billionaires who are asking for their companies to be bailed out while they're sitting on private islands. Why are we not talking about that? Why are we talking about working class? There's an imbalance there which doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Did he cut his wages? The guy from the politics who talk about it. He said, I'm going to give like 30% or 40% of my salary away. Did he do it? We don't know. So it's easy to blame the others.
Exactly.
But you should start to do it yourself.
Yeah, lead by example. So, Rudy, away from football, you are a Muslim. You wasn't born a Muslim. So do you know that you spoke to them about your journey to Islam, please?
Okay, so I'm not born Muslim. I've been baptized when I was young, because it was like just the way people were doing in France. When you get a kid, you baptize him. Then I never practiced. I've never been a Catholic or something like this. I didn't read a lot about the Bible. Then I started to hang up with Muslim people, and my first agent was a Muslim. And I liked the way they lived, the way they thought. It was very peaceful. And at this time, I was like a bit... I wasn't living the same life. And then I started to feel better when I started to read about it. My wife is Muslim, and I started to be with her, and then I realized that's something I wanted to do. So I started to read about it to find out answer of my questions. I'm grateful I met some very good people with good knowledge, and then it was just a natural thing to do for me, because my heart was open and my faith was growing, and I became Muslim in 2010, and since I'm a happy man, alhamdulillah. Yeah, it's going to be the 10 years anniversary in October, inshallah.
Hopefully by then we can leave our houses and we can maybe have a celebration, have a happy 10-year being a Muslim cake. That'd be nice. So what is the main thing, would you say, in your life that is different? Now you're 10 years old, so things are different in your life. But in terms of the way you live your life, what's the main difference now compared to before you became Muslim?
But the main difference is that you judge by your behavior and your intention. So obviously the way, when you wake up until you go to bed, you have to have a good behavior and good intention in everything you do, because your purpose is to go to heaven. So obviously make like your life different. So everything I do, I try to please Allah and make sure I do it with the good intention. Obviously I'm not perfect, but every day I try to lead by example and follow everything I said with my behavior.
That's great, man. So I want to talk to you a little bit about France. So I don't know France. I didn't grow up in France like you did. But there are stories that I hear about the difficulties in France for Muslims, for people of color, for people who are not white. What has been your experience or your experiences of your friends, particularly your friends who live in Paris, for example? Because some of the stories I hear are quite scary. So what are your thoughts on that?
I would say that it changed a lot last 5-6 years. When I left, Muslim could live okay, no problem. Obviously there is some racism like everywhere. The last 5-6 years, Muslim has been targeted by the government, and they start to talk about everything that they try to blame. It's like Muslims are, even some small bits, not very important, but they do big things about it. I don't know if it's try to put fear in the people about politics and elections and stuff like this. But it's not. I don't want to live in France when I retire from football, because I don't want to raise my kid in this kind of environments about Muslims, because I want them to be proud of their religion and live their religion as they like. So that's not the best place to live as a Muslim. currently. Maybe it's going to change, but the atmosphere is not going this way. The problem is that people are free to say some very, very strong things now. And a few years ago, this kind of words couldn't happen. The people will not let this happen, but now it's quite open, and you can blame people for their color, for their religion, and it doesn't make any problem. So no, it's not the best place to be recently if you are Muslim or if you are colored people. That's a bit a shame, because France used to be a very
well, yeah, this is the thing that surprised me when I started looking into it, is that France, the two times you won the World Cup in '98 and 2 years ago in 2018, you have had the most diverse sports team that has ever been assembled in the history of sports. You know, you think about the '98 World Cup, you have Zinedine Zidane, Lilian Thuram, Youri Yokayev, Trezeguet, people like that playing alongside Fabien Barthez and Laurent Blanc. And then you look at 2018 and you've got Kylian Mbappe, Kante playing with Griezmann and players like that. And I think it's amazing to me that these teams could deliver France to glory, give them the World Cup, and yet it's quite surprising to me.
Yeah, as a sportsman, they accept you when you're doing well. But when the team is struggling, they start to blame the foreigner. Karim Benzema had this situation, Ben Arfa had this situation, Nasri had this situation, and so forth, so on. Unfortunately, most of the time it's the colored people who take the blame, even if you didn't do anything, you know. The team is not doing well, so they're going to just try to check every behavior and blame him for nothing. But when the team is working, it's like,
I mean, they do that.
France.
Yeah, I mean, they do that in Germany with Mesut Ozil as well. They blamed him a lot for Germany's won the World Cup with Germany, and even in this country, you know, you see the coverage and the way they talk about people like Raheem Sterling. It's disgusting.
Yes, yeah, obviously. I think you shouldn't judge people by their color or their religion. Everyone is like equal and should live in peace. But unfortunately, some minority has a good voice and make it big things, and the majority is staying silent, so it doesn't help. So that's where the problem is. We should all raise, even if it's not about us. If I see, like, I don't know, Chinese people or Asian guys being in trouble because he had racial abuse, I should stand up, even if I'm not touched by it. I should stand up and say, listen, you cannot tolerate it. But the people is try to defend themselves when they feel touched about it, and that's why the problem is not going away. That's something we should that's a problem we should raise all together and judge all together, not just like feeling comfortable in your own life.
Yeah, we've been even seeing in football now, there's been a few high-level incidents, high-profile incidents of racism that didn't happen 10 years ago. Like, you know, 10 years ago, there was no racism at football grounds, maybe in parts of Europe, in Russia and places like that. But now we're seeing it creeping back into English football grounds and French football grounds in Italy and in Spain. And it's almost like things are going backwards instead of forwards.
But I think it was already some racism problem. But now, with all the media, the coverage we've got, when something happened, it's everywhere in the public space. So that's why maybe now it seems like there is more. What I find very interesting is that a few years ago, maybe 10, 15 years, 20 years ago, people maybe doesn't used to live with a foreigner next to his house or something. But now, when you're born in this time, that's something you get used to it. So it shouldn't be a big deal, like to have a black, Chinese, Indian, or white guy next to you. You should be you grew up with it, you know, so there is no different. But people is getting racist, or people are getting abuse people just for the color, because it's they follow a trend, you know. For example, in Italy, they said, we're not racist on Lukaku, but it's just we know you're gonna make him panicking on his penalty or something like this. That's very poor, because you should do something else than just racism. And then they've been protected by the club, or they don't get banned, or the federation should really take some bigger decision on this kind of problem. That's the problem. It's only like a small. England had this problem during an international game, and the country just get like a few £100 fine. It's not enough. We should do more than this.
No, I agree. Okay, so away from that, thank you for that. That was very, very interesting and enlightening. What's it like being a Muslim, a football player who's a practicing Muslim? How does your lifestyle differ on the weekends to go to places that you're like, thank you for the invitation, but I'm not going to go there, but you have fun.
First thing I would say is like in England, you can practice your faith very well, and every club I've been, they did everything they could to make sure I could have some halal meats, pray, and feel comfortable as a Muslim. So that's a good point, because in clubs in England they do everything they can to put you in a comfortable situation. Then with the colleagues, with the friends, yeah. They sometimes was they asking to go out or come in the party, and I just said, "Oh, listen, I'm with my family, and we will see tomorrow on Monday at training. It's a better way for me." But no, it's cool. As I understand, they know how. You have to, when you come in the club, you have to show how you live, and just they respect it. But there's no problem about it. People are very respectful. When they see you honest in what you say, they respect it. But there is some people just gonna talk, I'm like this, but then the behavior show a different way. So that's why they start to lose the respect for you.
No, I understand that, and you're an amazing role model for a lot of young sports people, both Muslim and non-Muslim, and I hope they look to you for an example of someone who is living their dream, but is also taking their responsibilities very, very seriously. And mashallah, may Allah keep you happy and successful, inshallah. So talk to me about away from football, you have a new charity program, Durama. So can you tell us about that, how the idea came about, what the purpose of the charity is, and what work they do, and what your plans for the charity Durama are?
My background is from Benin in West Africa, and my wife from Senegal and Guinea. So we used to go to Africa when we've got time, and then we have 2 kids myself. So we wanted to adopt a third one. But alhamdulillah, we are the 3rd kids, natural kids with my wife. So we said, listen, we still have to do something to help the kids and the new generation, to make sure they can grow in a safe environment and have a good life, healthy life. So we said, why not to create like a home for orphans? So we started to think about the idea and how we could do it. So that's how Jarama is born. Jarama, which means thank you in Pearl. In Fula, it's one of the West African language. So then I went back to Benin with her, and we started to set up the charity over there, and we set up the charity in England. So that's important to know that the charity, the main one, is set up in England. So there is some security, some control about it. So every money we raise, we have to show how we're going to use the money, why we're going to use the money. There's a real control. So then the plan is to create a house for 10 kids. And we're going to look after them from 3 to 5 years old until they are big enough to look after themselves. So we're going to feed them. They're going to go to school. We're going to pay for the school. We're going to pay for everything like they are our kids. They're going to have 3 people working in the house 24 hours, 7 days a week with the kids, plus a manager, plus a security guard. So we are trying to raise the money to build the house. The land, we give away one of our land ourselves with my wife for the charity. Build the house, we are aiming to reach 120,000 euros, and the running cost a year for the house is like 50,000 euros. So the first year we're aiming to raise the 170 a bit plus thousand euros to build and start the house, and then it's going to be 50,000 euros a year to run the charity, to run the house. So as much money we're going to raise, we're going to open more house for kids. But the first one, we wanted to start to build the house in May, but unfortunately with the coronavirus, everything is put in hold because our events was planned in April and May and June, but everything has been cancelled. So we've been patient. We're going to be patient, and inshallah, during Ramadan, people are going to be very kind and try to donate a bit more. We're going to try to collect some zakat from people for the good cause, and that's something we're really happy to start, and we're going to put our heart into it with my wife and our kids and all the families involved. So now that's a big project, and we are very happy about it and look forward to put the kids in the house for the first time.
MashaAllah, man. May Allah succeed this project, and and may Allah put barakat in your earnings as well, mashallah, man. That's amazing. That's good. That's good to know, and make sure we promote that at the time when you are doing your fundraising. Make sure we promote it as well on this podcast and wider and beyond as well.
Thank you. I would appreciate it.
Is there anything else you want to say to our viewers and our listeners?
No, I just want to say that you have to first you have to live your Muslim life to praise Allah, because that's the most important, and then everything you do on the side, sports, study, and everything. Don't lose your religion, because that's the base for your life. So everything you add on it has to follow your base, and then just enjoy. Be happy in what you do. Don't do it because you've been told. Do it because you like and you love what you do. And commit yourself 100% and go as far as you can. Inshallah, you will get success, and you get success, and you'll be a happy man or happy woman or happy people.
Inshallah. Thank you, Rudy, man. You've been an amazing guest. Big up you. Thank you for the good times at Blackburn Rovers. I will never forget them. And if you ever get a chance, come back in it. Come back to Blackburn Rovers and score some goals and get us promoted to the Premier League, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you, Rudy. Thank you for being our guest. We'll speak to you soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.